Hi guys! So today is an exciting day. I'll be giving an update on my hydrangea stem cuttings. Last year, I planted around 20 hydrangea stem cuttings in the fall. I first cut the stems from an existing hydrangea shrub and put them in pots in the spring, waited for them to root, and then planted them in my garden in the fall. So now, let's take a look. Remember, last year I planted these stem cuttings in the fall. I grew the stem cuttings in pots in the spring and then transplanted them in my garden in the fall. Look how big they are now. They look so healthy and happy. And to be honest, I was such a lazy gardener that I didn't really even water them. After I planted them, I just left them alone. They just grew on their own. It's a good thing I planted them in the fall, so the weather was cold and they're in partial shade so they didn't dry out. Of course, if you're planting them in warmer weather, I suggest you water them so they don't dry out. I also planted them here. Look how many leaves these have. I can't wait to see them next year. I'll have an entire garden bed of hydrangeas. Look over here. Here's another one. And another one. I counted around 18 baby hydrangea plants, so that's almost 100% success rate. Amazing, right? If you want to learn how I propagated these hydrangea stem cuttings, watch part 1 and part 2 of this video series. I have the link in the description below. I'm inspired and motivated by the results of my hydrangea stem cuttings. I want to propagate more. Hydrangeas are one of my favorite flowers. They're beautiful and so easy to care for. I want to fill my garden with hydrangeas. So now I'm going to propagate a few hydrangea stem cuttings. It's spring right now. Perfect weather to start hydrangea stem cuttings in pots. Here I'll cut a stem from my hydrangea shrub. Then I'll cut the stem cuttings around 4 inches long. Dip them in water, then dip them in rooting hormones. Then just poke a hole in the pot and plant the stem cutting in. Make sure the soil is wet before you plant it. And of course, water your stem cuttings after planting. Here I'll do a few more stem cuttings. Oh, and make sure you cut the leaves before you plant them in the pot. You want to make sure all the energy is directed towards developing roots. That's why you cut off some of the leaves, not all of them though. I think the key is the rooting hormone. You can't skip this step. It makes a huge difference. Also, make sure you leave the pots with the stem cuttings in a partial shade location. For me, I've had success propagating hydrangea stem cuttings here. It's a little alcove nook that is sheltered, yet it still gets enough sunlight and rain. Find a spot like this in your garden. I'll give you another update in the fall. I'll be transplanting these stem cuttings out of the pots to my garden. And you'll get an update on how the baby hydrangeas in my garden are doing. Maybe some will bloom this summer? I actually don't know, I'm not sure. I'll be keeping an eye on them and I'll let you know in the fall. Stay tuned for the next video. I hope you liked this video. Check out part 1 and part 2 of this video series if you want to learn how I propagated these hydrangea stem cuttings. Please like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.